Hello there, Ramblers, and welcome back to Reese Rambles, my weekly podcast all about the comings and goings, movings and shakings, and all the rest of it in the worlds of vintage and retro technology, computing, and gaming. Hope you're all doing well. Another week has gone by, and we are 1 week closer to winter. The nights are drawing in, the mornings are also drawing in. It's been dark, it's been cold, the leaves are on the turn, and the smell of coal and wood fires is in the air, at least around where I live. And I quite like it. It's probably my favourite time of year, actually. But there we go. That's that. I can't believe it's been a whole week since the last one of these. I mean, recording 2 podcasts a week at the minute is taking up a lot of my time, and these weeks are flying by. But yeah, wow. Anyway, where does the time go? But before I get too kind of nostalgic and wax lyrical about a load of old rubbish, as I often do, let's have a look at a little story. Let's break the ice, because I need that. And this is a tweet. Indeed, I'm not really on Twitter all that much nowadays, but I had to have a look at this, because this is from Lord Sugar himself, Lord Sir, the Right Honourable, whatever he wants to be known as, His Majesty. This week, well-known peddler of tat and miserable old git, as I'm sure you'll all know. And of course, a very important figure in the tech industry, not wanting to downplay his achievements and his importance, certainly back in the day. But yeah, his Twitter feed probably doesn't give the best impression of him, does it? But anyway, he is apparently putting together an Amstrad Museum website, and he has put out a call. So I am putting together an Amstrad Museum website. These are his words, not mine, by the way. If you have any great memories or anecdotes about Amstrad products you've owned over the years, tweet them to me with a picture, and I might include them on the website. Please include the hashtag Amstrad. And this is quite cool, actually. This is something that I think is quite important and kind of needed doing, because, I mean, obviously I'm an Atari fan. I've been following their kind of developments recently, and I think they've been doing a lot of good stuff, a lot of nice kind of nostalgic stuff, warm and fuzzy stuff, but also some, kind of future-facing developments and things as well. And I think they are striking a good balance just lately, and I don't see any reason why Amstrad couldn't do the same thing, really. Particularly if it's led by Lord Sugar. I mean, it's his company. He founded the thing all those years ago, and they've done a lot of great things. Of course, they did their PCs, the 1512 and the 1640, and there was that other one, wasn't there? The smaller one, and then they bought Sinclair. So Sinclair history is a big part of Amstrad history as well, and of course the CPC computers as well. Not things that I have a lot of experience of personally, but you can't deny the historic importance of those. And that's before you even get into home entertainment, hi-fi and TV and all of that stuff that Amstrad were very, very big in back in the day as well. So I quite like this. This is right up my street. And if you do have any anecdotes or things, pictures or things that you want to share with the Sugar himself, the Sugar Daddy, there he is. I haven't actually clicked on this. I had a look at any of the replies. I must admit, I'm not really on Twitter all that much nowadays, but well, not really on there at all in an official capacity, but that's a different story. So my entire programming career started because of my love for my first Amstrad CPC 464. And, oh, there we go. Someone's replied, "Oh, hi, Scott. Lord Sugar's office here. Thanks for your story." Well, that's shattered the illusion, hasn't it? I thought it was Alan himself that was running this account. I have plenty. How much are you paying? Okay. What's this? Great memories? Is that... That's a cathedral full of Amstrads. Great memories in my childhood and still at the present to make alive the Amstrad passion and passionates. That's from Cyril Gouret. Wow, look at that. Those signs are in French, I think. Of course, Amstrad was quite big in France, wasn't it? And there was they had Schneider as well in Europe. I think that was a licensed thing. I must admit, I don't know all that much about Amstrad history, but anyway, some nice replies here. These aren't really my replies to read out and my pictures to show, are they? But I'm going to persevere. We've got the Museo Arcade Vintage. Hope you may see our exhibition 40 Years of Amstrad CPC at the Arcade Vintage Museum. Where's that? Oh, that looks like it's in Spain. Cool. Well, I like that. That looks cool. Cool exhibition there. 40 Years of the Amstrad CPC. Yeah, that's really cool. I like that kind of thing. We've been sharing our memories in our Spanish podcast for the past 5 years. 1989, I was working in Dynamic. There's a lot of kind of European... I thought this would be predominantly British, actually, most of these replies. But I do forget that Amstrad had such a big presence and such a big importance right across Europe. And I see here that Gary Pinkett has tagged Neil in this, quite rightly, of course. It's kind of one of his specialist subjects, isn't it? So, yeah, looking very cool. That well worth checking out. Of course, that will be linked in the usual places if you have anything to submit, or if you just want to have a bit of a browse through the replies and see people's stories and pictures and things. But yeah, I think that's a nice little story to kick us off with this week's Ramble. So from one happy story all about vintage preservation to another slightly less happy story about, well, I guess the opposite of preservation. What would that be? Destruction? Yeah, I'm going to go with destruction, sadly. And this, hey, let's dive straight into this. This is a bit of a call to arms, a bit of a heads up, a bit of a public service announcement. This is on timeextension.com, although I have seen this mentioned a fair few places this week, and I am fully on board with this. And the headline is, please stop buying unofficial Saturn mini consoles. Now, apparently these consoles, and I haven't come across them myself, I do buy some stuff on AliExpress, but this isn't something that's been recommended to me, but it says here, if you've been near AliExpress recently, you'll surely have noticed a proliferation of modded Saturn consoles, which have had their CD drives removed and are primarily intended for use with a Saru flash card, which allows all titles to be loaded from the console's cartridge slot. There's a flood of these hacked systems coming out of China these days, often with transparent cases which show off the Saturn's internals. The idea is that by using a Saru to load games, you don't need the CD drive, effectively making it a Saturn Mini due to the reduction in height. Some systems even come with bolt-on LCD monitors, and there are some pictures. There's an example here of what these things look like on the website. And it's like a laptop form factor thing. It's got a transparent top. I can't say I'm all that keen on that, but other than that, I guess it's a reasonably nice looking thing. But the problem with these, it goes on to say, is that these are made from actual Sega Saturn consoles from back in the day, and these companies in China are buying them up from the second-hand market, and they're hacking them up and they're turning them into these portable consoles, which is not cool. It's been assumed by some people that the consoles used in these mods have faulty CD drives, something we're not entirely sure is the case, given the reputation AliExpress modders tend to have these days. But even so, members of the retro gaming community are coming together to voice their concern with the practice, encouraging people to avoid buying them. And we have some listings here with some prices. So there's one, what's that, £112, £104, £106, 105, 73.90. Oh, that's just the monitor. Okay. Temporarily breaking my Twitter death to discourage the Saturn scene from buying these mini Saru Saturns that keep popping up on AliExpress and the like. Says Pandemonium GR, creator of the amazing Sega Rally documentary you might have seen recently. I do not like the idea of hacking up the limited functional Saturns we have left and locking them away to Saru use. And here's a tweet from Voltar, of course, very well-known console modder on YouTube and quite a prolific tweeter as well back in the day. And he says that he's going to co-sign this. All of those garbage portabilizer consoles sold on AliExpress are far more destructive than they are useful. There are far few Sega Saturn units in the wild than, say, Game Boys, so it's not quite the same thing when you take a unit out of circulation. And I am totally on board, I will say, just on a personal note, with all of this. Yeah, like he says, it's not a fair comparison to make with the Game Boy modding scene because Nintendo made millions and millions of Game Boys over the years. And yeah, they are historically important, but people hacking the odd one up to do something interesting with it doesn't seem like quite the issue that it is with the Saturn, does it? Because that was quite a rare console. It was never a big seller back in the day, and it was quite a technically interesting console. Not saying that the Game Boy wasn't. The Saturn is believed to have sold just 9.26 million units during its lifetime. Some insist it was more, but it's still much less than the Game Boy. So there's clearly a more pressing need to preserve the units that remain in active use. CD drives fail, sure, but they can be fixed. And given that the Saru cartridge requires the user to make 0 modifications to the base system, it's somewhat puzzling to see this trend of hacking Saturns to use with the cart. You're effectively making the Saturn less useful, as it will no longer have the option of playing physical discs. And then it just goes on to some cool-looking Saturn mods, but yeah, I mean, surely part of owning, at least for me, part of owning this kind of vintage hardware, and I've been known to modify consoles and stuff, but for me, I've always done it in such a way that it is still looking original on the outside and still basically functioning as original. I've added stuff like composite video output and S-video output and changed power supplies and things, but fundamentally I think the console itself remains the same. But these things, I mean, what is it? It's like, is that like an injection molded plastic case and it's just got like a slab of clear acrylic on the top? I mean, it doesn't really look like anything. I mean, you know, you've kind of lost all of the historical value of the actual console itself. And what have you gained, really? I mean, it's not really portable. You're not going to be taking this on a plane or whatever and playing Saturn games on your next transatlantic flight, are you? So yeah, who is buying these things? Don't buy them. I guess that's the kind of the gist of the story. And I just wanted to kind of put my tiny little insignificant name behind this as well and say, yeah, you know, don't buy hacked up old consoles. It's not cool. I don't really think I have much else to add. So quite a while back now, I mentioned that I'd bought a giant water bottle because I no longer have access to drinking water here, which isn't a huge problem. You know, and I have to keep my mouth lubricated when I'm doing lots of recording. And I just went to take a swig from this between stories, and the straw's fallen off inside. And not only has it fallen off inside, it's fallen off in a really awkward way where it's kind of wedged. And I've been poking it with these tweezers, and I haven't... Ah, ha, 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 ha. Oh, I'm so glad I caught that on camera. Yeah, these anti-static tweezer sets from Amazon, very useful. I'll link to those down in the description. Anyway, should I make that an affiliate link as well? It makes people really angry when I make money out of this channel. So, yeah, let's do that. Anyway, there we go. So, we're back. We have water. I can get on with the next story. After I've taken a swig. Sorry about that. Right, this next story is about Nintendo, and it's about Pokemon. And I'm sure there are many of you out there who follow me for the Atari stuff and the old PC stuff and are probably a similar age to me and are probably thinking, Pokemon? What on earth? Why is he talking about Pokemon? I did Flappy Bird last week. Oh, that Flappy Bird thing, by the way, that ended up being some kind of weird NFT scam or something, and it turns out that the people don't actually... the people releasing it don't actually own the rights to it at all and aren't involving the original creator at all, so don't buy that. Yeah, I probably should have done that as a separate update. But anyway, this is about Pokemon, this is about Nintendo, and you can't have missed this week because it's actually made the national news, or at least it certainly has here. And I suppose that means that the least I could do is at least acknowledge it. So this is BBC News, and the headline is Nintendo sues Pokemon with guns video game firm. And just to very briefly sum this up, this is a game called Palworld, which I very, very clearly remember being announced back in 2021. And they released a trailer and had these little Pokemon-like creatures running around shooting at each other with guns, oddly enough. And I remember a lot of people at the time saying that Nintendo were going to sue them out of existence for this, and it seems that that has finally come to a head, although in a bit of a weird roundabout kind of way. So, yeah, Nintendo and its partner, the Pokemon Company, have filed a legal case against the maker of the hit survival adventure game Palworld over alleged patent infringement. Just days after the game's release in January this year, the Pokemon Company said it would investigate the copycat claims. Palworld's developer, Pocket Pair Incorporated, acknowledged the lawsuit in a statement on Thursday and apologised to fans for any worry or discomforts caused. Now, the interesting thing about this is that it goes on to say that Palworld has become a major hit with more than 25 million players within a month of its release, and I had no idea that it was this big. So I can see why it's made the BBC News. And of course, it's Nintendo suing people, but Nintendo sue people pretty much every day. So, and it goes on to describe what the game is all about, how it works, and of course, Pokemon and how that also works, and some of the recent lawsuits that Nintendo have won over Pokemon-type things. And yeah, it does sound very eerily familiar. I know a lot of the characters themselves apparently are just straight copies of some of the Pokemans or whatever they're called. But there was also another update on this today from Eurogamer, and this was actually detailing which patent specifically they are using to go after this game, which I thought was quite interesting. Game mechanics being patented. Patent, one's the noun and one's the verb, isn't it? Or is one British and one... whatever. Whatever, let's carry on. Fingers are being pointed at a recent Pokeball throwing patent. So, of course, in Pokemon, you've got to throw your Pokeball at the Pokemans to catch them. Jointly filed at this summer by Nintendo and the Pokemon Company. Indeed, the companies requested this patent was given an accelerated review process, perhaps in preparation for this legal action now. The detail comes from Japanese patent attorney Kiyoshi Kurihara, speaking to Yahoo Japan and translated by Automaton. The patent in question describes how a character catches a Pokemon by aiming and throwing a capture item like a Pokeball at a creature. Upon successful capture, the creature then becomes owned by the player. In Palworld, players catch Pals by aiming and throwing a capture item, named a Pal Sphere. And I'll just interject here just to just to make everyone absolutely just to explain that the sphere is very legally distinct. Just to explain that the sphere is, of course, very legally distinct from a ball. They're very different things. Upon successful capture, the creature then becomes owned by the player. It's a killer pattern, Kurihara said. Pattern? Where did that come from? It seems like it would be hard to avoid if you want to make a Pokemon-like game, and it's easy to infringe if you're not careful. So there you go, and there's a diagram there of someone throwing a ball at an animal to capture it. And that's basically what the whole lawsuit hinges around. So quite interesting stuff, I think. Of course, there's all these stories of Nintendo suing all these people for doing these fan projects and these small indie developers and stuff like that. But this thing is actually reportedly quite huge, and also does sound like it is basically just a straight copy. So perhaps they're actually in the right this time, oddly enough. So here's something that has a bit of a tenuous personal connection, but is actually kind of intertwined with the history of my very YouTube channel, I guess. So I can't really let it pass me by without at least acknowledging it. This isn't some kind of official endorsement, and I'm not involved with this in any way, but it came up on my radar, and I thought that looks quite interesting. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about that. But just first, as a bit of a primer, this is to do with Jason Bradbury. Now, Jason Bradbury is quite a well-known tech journalist here in the UK. Used to host the Gadget Show on TV back in the day, late 90s, kind of early 2000s. I'm not sure exactly what year he stopped doing that. And I did report in a recent ramble that he has managed to reacquire the rights to at least the name and the logo of the show, and has brought it back as a podcast. And hey, if you like the Gadget Show back in the day, you'll probably like the podcast as well. But yeah, he's still very active on social media. But the personal connection that I have here, which I should just mention first, is to do with my very first YouTube video, which went out 4 years ago. Apparently 4,600 views, it says here, in 4 years. Wow, how times have changed. My very first video. I didn't appear in this. It was just all voiceover and music and editing and stuff. But this was about a console that I modified for the man himself, Mr. Bradbury. So it's called Atari 2600 Composite Fit Mod Tutorial for TV's Jason Bradbury. And basically, I was modifying Nintendo Famicoms at the time and posting about it on Instagram. And I was also posting about Atari stuff, as you might expect. And he randomly messaged me one day saying, do you think you could do an Atari 2600? Because I want one for my collection. I think I did a Famicom for him first, and I ended up doing a 2600 for him. It was 4 years ago. A lot's happened since then. An awful lot's happened since then. But anyway, yeah, I ended up speaking to him on the phone a few times, and I ended up posting these consoles to his house, and he had one that I think got damaged in transit, and I ended up sending another one, and come to think of it, I don't think I ever got the broken one back. Anyway, I won't hold that against him. Yeah, by all accounts, a thoroughly nice chap. I mean, he does Play Expo and stuff with Trista Bytes, doesn't he? Does live streams as well. Very much into his kind of 80s and 90s retro stuff, music and guitars and consoles and all that lovely stuff. And I noticed on his social media this week, probably on Instagram, that he is now making a film, of all things. So this is called Control AI Delete, which I like the name, very much up my street. And there's not much information on the Kickstarter page. It hasn't actually officially launched yet, so this is like a pre-launch thing, and you can sign up for notifications. But the description here, the synopsis, if you like, is when an AI goes rogue, humanity's only hope is a gang of retro gamers and their beloved vintage tech in this comedy feature film. Sounds like an Ashens film, doesn't it? And I do like the Ashens films, you know, Polybius Heist and the other one, Game Child. Did he do another one? I think he's working on a horror film as well. Anyway, now I'm getting sidetracked. So it says here, hello from writer/producer Jason Bradbury. Hi, I'm Jason Bradbury, best known for UK TV's The Gadget Show, lesser known for writing brand new independent comedy feature film, Control AI Delete. The film is a retro-fueled, laugh-out-loud action comedy that's hitting Kickstarter very soon with a campaign packed with epic rewards for early backers. Let's just hit play on the trailer here. There's not much info in the trailer, really, just some nice shots of people playing on arcade machines and stuff. And Jason basically introducing himself, as you do, 51 seconds long. But you can go and watch that over on the Kickstarter page if you like. And the description goes on, Ready Player Yo. Of course, he owns a DeLorean as well, doesn't he? That's done up to look like the Back to the Future time machine. It's very cool. Description goes on to say, Ready Player U, if you're a fan of the golden era of arcade machines, floppy disks and classic consoles, this movie is made for you. There's a picture of a Spectrum. Raw, real and retro. Struggling to get my words out even more than usual this week. Raw, real and retro. It's mayhem on the streets of our gritty seaside town setting as an AI rollout gone wrong triggers a global technological meltdown. Our film combines the down-to-earth humour of classic British comedies with the nostalgic vibes of 80s and 90s action flicks. Think The In-Betweeners meets War Games. I'm not sure I can think that, Jason. I have no idea how that would work. But it's an interesting concept, isn't it? By the way, if you're looking for people to star in this film, just saying, yeah, I'm quite comfortable appearing on camera. Level up your swag. Cool merch rolls in the movie. He's giving away rolls in the movie as one of the backer rewards. Jason, I thought you were going to ask me for free. Anyway, cool merch rolls in the movie. Your name on our exclusive arcade machine high score screen. The campaign rewards are going to blow you away. What was that? Why sign up for launch notifications? Well, you get first dibs at 25% off. You get first in line for limited editions, and you get priority delivery. Early to back, early to receive when we ship. Game on! We're calling on fans of 80s and 90s cinema, retro gaming, and anyone who loves a good underdog story to join us on this adventure. Your support will help us make this film a reality, and trust us, it's going to be a crazy ride. So get on board now and be notified ahead of the big launch. So, yep, the Kickstarter hasn't actually launched yet, but you can go and sign up for notifications. Apparently, it's got 253 people signed up already. I think I might actually be one of those people. I'm not logged into Kickstarter at the minute. Yeah, interesting concept, isn't it? I do wonder what could possibly come of it. But, hey, the guy's certainly got the experience working in TV and tech journalism and stuff like that, and he's certainly got the retro credentials, I guess. So it's a project I'm going to be watching quite closely. And as mentioned, Jason, you've got my number. Hit me up. I'm sure we can do something. I'm a big fan of all things open source and Linux. It's certainly something that I've covered on my channel in the past and something that I'm planning on covering a bit more in the future. He says, knowingly looking at something across the other side of the studio that's very interesting, but I won't talk about that now. I'm also a big fan of the Steam Deck, Valve's handheld console. Of course, runs Linux, although I don't actually own the physical hardware, oddly enough. The reason for that being that they're quite expensive, and I don't think I'd get enough use out of it to justify that. But what I have done is installed the Steam OS on a few things, including perhaps most famously the Atari VCS, the recent one, not the original 1970s one, of course. So this story is about all of the above and also incorporates one of my favourite game franchises of all time, one that I've talked about previously on these rambles, I think as recently as last week, if I remember rightly. And that is Grand Theft Auto. And it's the news this week that GTA 5 has lost its Steam Deck verification. So this comes from IGN.com. GTA 5 loses Steam Deck verification as Rockstar claims Valve's handheld does not support anti-cheating tech. And essentially what has happened here is that there's a little badge against certain games on Steam to show that they are verified as being highly compatible and recommended, indeed officially endorsed for use with the Steam Deck. And GTA 5 has always had this, and this week it lost it because Rockstar made a modification to the game. Now what they've done is they've added a kernel level anti-cheat plugin, system, module, what do you call it, to the game. So next time you fire up GTA 5, and next time I fire up my living room PC, which hasn't been switched on for over a week now, it's going to download an update, and that's going to install something that modifies the Windows kernel for a game that I don't play. Yeah, just go ahead and mess about with my operating system kernel. That's perfectly fine. But it doesn't do this on the Steam Deck because, of course, the Steam Deck runs Linux, and allowing random bits of software to dick about with the kernel is not really the done thing in the world of Linux. Although apparently this story does go on to say that Valve could enable it if they wanted to, but they haven't. And if that's not a good advert for gaming on Linux, I don't know what is. But anyway, you may have noticed that Grand Theft Auto 5 is no longer verified on Steam Deck. That's seemingly because of the BattlEye anti-cheat software for GTA Online, which rolled out earlier this week. As Rockstar explains in its official FAQ, BattlEye is a kernel-level anti-cheat intended to address some of the cheating problems in GTA Online. A side effect of this new software is that it apparently breaks GTA's compatibility with Steam Deck, which Rockstar blames on Valve, as I've just explained. And so it goes on, and basically it quotes some stuff here from Rockstar's official FAQ, all about the issue. And what's interesting is that Steam Deck does apparently seem to support BattlEye. As The Verge pointed out, Valve has previously said that enabling BattlEye support on Steam Deck is seemingly a matter of reaching out and asking for them to effectively flip a switch. But they've not done that, which I quite like. But anyway, one way or another, it's a loss for both Valve and fans of the Steam Deck, as GTA 5 has consistently been one of the platform's most popular games. And indeed, apparently IGN themselves called it one of the 10 best games available on the Steam Deck, eclipsed only by Elden Ring, writing, "In many ways, the sandbox world of violence and crime it offers is well suited for on-the-go gaming." Yeah, I agree. Violence and crime on the go. What more could you want? It's easy to lose yourself in the many distractions in Los Santos. Passing time on a real city bus while you hijack a GTA city bus is a rare level of portable gaming inception. IGN has reached out to Valve and Rockstar for additional comment. But apparently you can still play the single-player story mode, which still holds up even more than a decade later. Has it really been a decade since GTA 5? My goodness, I've actually been to the real-life LA in that time. You just won't be able to pull off portable heists online. Alas. So there you go, kernel level anti-cheat not compatible with the Steam Deck's Linux-based operating system, which I thought was quite interesting. And so that brings us around to my regular video of the week segment. Wow, that was quite a tuneful attempt this week, wasn't it? Yeah, all that kazoo practice must be paying off, and I'll stop waving the kazoo at you now. I'll put that down before I do any damage. But yeah, of course, every week I talk about a video that I have watched in the past week and that I think might be of interest to my lovely viewers and listeners as well. And this one is all about the IBM ThinkPad, one of my favourite series of computers of all time. Of course, big fan of IBM stuff. And I have owned quite a few ThinkPads over the years. And yeah, my dad even had them when I was a kid as his company laptops. In fact, he owned the very model that is featured in this video. So without further ado, let's have a look at this one. This comes from a channel called Polymat, and it is a metal 3D printed IBM ThinkPad. It has the actual guts of a working IBM ThinkPad in it. Not only that, but it's the 701C, which is the one, the infamous model now, with the fold-out butterfly keyboard. So as you open the lid, the keyboard expands to full width, and it was just an amazing piece of engineering. And Matt actually got this a while back, and the case was quite badly broken. And he 3D printed his own case for it. So replacement parts for every single part of the case for this iconic model of ThinkPad. And then he put all the files out there for free, so you can 3D print your own. And then he thought, you know what? You can 3D print in metal nowadays, can't you? So let's try that. And indeed, he got it 3D printed in stainless steel. And this is a huge, hefty thing, as you might expect. It's rock solid. It's incredibly well engineered. Of course, he had to go back and adapt all of his files and things so that it would work in metal. And even then, when it arrived from the printers, he did have to do some bits of kind of rework and fettling and stuff to get it to all go together. And it's an absolutely fascinating journey. I mean, if you want more of an endorsement, there is a comment from LGR on here. Damn dude, upping the game once again. I'd love to see this thing at a future VCF. Just the idea of this little laptop weighing that much is hilarious. So yeah, as endorsed by Clint as well. But no, seriously, this is a great video. All of his videos are really nicely shot, really nicely framed. You know, the lighting, the audio, everything is completely on point. It's a really nice channel. It's grown very quickly, which is absolutely not unexpected as far as I'm concerned, considering the quality and the work that he puts into all of his projects. And I think it's worth checking out. And while you're over there checking out this project, I think you would enjoy some of his other projects. And also, I think you should also subscribe to his channel and maybe leave him a comment as well saying that Reese sent you. That would be nice. So yeah, that's Polymat. That's his video, 3D printing a metal laptop, and indeed a stainless steel IBM ThinkPad 701C. Quite a sight to behold, and I enjoyed this video quite a lot. And that's all I have for you for this week's episode of Reese Rambles. So thank you ever so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And speaking of enjoying the rest of your weekend, if part of that weekend routine involves listening to This Week in Retro, which goes out on a Saturday at 10 a.m. UK time, you will no doubt be pleased to hear that I am co-presenting with Dave once more, although it will be one of the last few episodes involving me because Neil will be back from his paternity leave soon. And I must say, I'm actually really looking forward to it. Not because I don't want to be involved with This Week in Retro anymore, of course. I've had so much fun talking to Dave every week, and it's been a real experience for me. It has been really, really great. But no, because I've missed listening to Neil. I mean, I like listening to This Week in Retro, and I must admit, if I have to listen to anyone, I'd rather listen to him than me, because listening to your own voice is weird. Although I do still listen, mainly for Dave's bits. We do have a really good guest on, in all seriousness, this week. It's someone I actually tracked down and booked. And if you enjoy the kind of stuff that I cover on my channel, I think this guest will be very, very much up your street. He had so much interesting stuff to say about his particular field of expertise. But I'll leave it at that. And also, it would be remiss of me not to mention the video that's gone out on my main channel today. It has 990... Oh, 900... So if I refresh this... 1,000 views. Excellent. So there you go. I'm glad you were here to witness this moment. So yeah, this video went out a couple of hours ago on my main channel. It's all about Windows Update. So Windows Update Restored is a project to restore Windows Update from back in the day. So if you have a machine running Windows 95, 98, 98 SE, Millennium Edition, XP, and I think some of the NT releases as well, you can go to windowsupdaterestored.com and you can actually update it as if it was back in the day. Of course, you shouldn't have these machines regularly connected to the internet. You shouldn't be using them for normal browsing and that kind of stuff. But it is really cool to relive that experience. I found it really, really nostalgic. And I was updating one of my computers anyway. And I thought, you know what? Let's record this and share it with people. So nice little video just talking about that project and showing how it works. So I hope you enjoy that. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, but I really must get going now. So once again, thank you, and yeah, you know the drill. Bye.